Hey everyone, it's Lisa Mears, and I'm back today sharing some more Christmas cards that I made using some products from the brand new Pretty Pink Posh Christmas and Holiday release. If you haven't seen all of the amazing products in this release, I'll link my unboxing video at the top right corner of this video and in the description box below, so be sure to check it out. So today I'm going to be using the tree cover plate to show you how easy it is to make 3 cards with this die set. I'm also going to be using some holographic silver and gold cardstock to get a really nice sparkle and shine on my cards. So here's a look at the tree cover plate. This cover plate is the size of an A2 size card. So when you die cut it, it will fit perfectly on an A2 size card base. And this die has 9 Christmas trees in 3 rows. So there's 3 trees per row, and all of these trees have a really nice stitching and design on the front of the trees. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine so that you can take a look at it and see what it looks like. I'm just using some white cardstock here, and I am going to add my shim just because I want to make sure that all of those trees cut out really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine, and when this comes out, look at that beautiful panel. Take a look at all of that stitching. Oh my gosh, these trees are so pretty. First of all, you can see all of the stitching around the rectangle itself, but then you also have all the stitching around all of the trees. You have this tree that actually has some ornaments that you can color up and add back to the trees. You have some more ornaments. There's even a candy cane on this second tree. At least that's what it looks like. It might be an upside down candy cane, or it could be a stocking. And then this third tree has some vertical stitched lines. You can see going down to the second row, it looks like there are some stitched stars. And then there are some horizontal stitched lines. There are some polka dots. These dots actually pop out. And then you also have some more dots. There's some diagonal stripes. And then it just looks like there are maybe some stitching marks on that last tree. But all of these trees will pop out of the die. So you can use these trees in the die, or you can take them out of the die. It's really up to you. And in my cards today, we are going to be doing both ways. So we're going to be putting them in the die. We're also going to be taking them out of the die. We're going to be making a shaker card today because you can do that with this A2 cover plate. You can even use these trees on an entirely different card if you just needed a card that has some Christmas trees on it. So here I'm just showing you that these pieces can come out of the Christmas tree. So if you wanted to color up the stars and the ornaments and pop them back in, you can totally do that. So I'm going to be using some holographic mirror paper, and I love this holographic paper from scrapbook.com. There's so many different designs, and I'm going to pull out a silver and a gold. And what's really nice about these papers is that they have all of this sparkle and shine to the paper in addition to it being silver and gold. It's really, really pretty. So I'm going to die cut not only the white, but I went ahead and die cut the silver, and I die cut a piece of gold out of the cover plate. And here I'm just going to pop out all of the Christmas trees for all of the dies. So I'm going to pop out all of the silver ones. I will pop out all of the gold ones, and I will also pop out all of the white ones. So I'll go ahead and finish this up off camera, and I'll be right back. So for my first card, I'm going to use the white die cut piece, and I also have a white A2 size card base, and I'm just going to glue that cover plate directly on to my A2 size card base. The card base is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. It's the same size as the cover plate, and you can see that it fits perfectly on that card base. So now I'm going to take my silver and gold Christmas trees, and I'm going to plug them back in to the openings on this card front. Now you can either glue them straight flat to the card, but instead I want to add a little bit of dimension, so I'm going to add some foam squares to the back of each one. Popping these up on the card, it just adds that little extra special touch. And I'm going to do that to each one. So after I put the foam squares on the back, I'm just going to place them right in the outline of the Christmas tree that's on that card base. So now that they're all added down to the card base, I'm just going to put this card on its side so you can see all of that dimension. So that just adds an extra pop of something special to the card. And when I added my Christmas trees, you can see I did do a little bit of a pattern there. So I have gold, then silver, gold, silver, gold, silver, all the way through that card. So I am going to be adding a sentiment using the Sentiment Strips for Christmas stamp set. This stamp set has lots of different sentiments that you can use, not only for Christmas, but for the winter season. In addition to Christmas, there are some general holiday greetings on that stamp set as well. And there is a set of matching dies that go along with this stamp set, and here is what it looks like. This is the Sentiment Strip die set, and there are several rectangular dies in different sizes that will cut out these sentiments. And what's neat about them is that you have some straight edged rectangles, there are some scalloped rectangles, there are some rectangles that have fishtail banners on the ends, so you really can choose what you want to use. And I was just trying to decide, I know I wanted to use a straight edged die, and I have 3 different ones here, and I was trying to decide which length I wanted to use on my card. And I'm also trying to figure out which sentiment I want to use. I chose to use the rectangle die that is in the middle of the smaller and the larger one, and I was just trying to figure out which sentiment will fit that die. So here I am choosing to use the Joyful Holiday Wishes stamp, and I want my stamp to have some gold in it because I wanted it to match the gold metallic cardstock. So I'm going to do some heat embossing with some gold embossing powder. So I'm going to start out by adding some powder to my cardstock, and then I'm going to stamp down the stamp using some Versamark ink. And this ink is a clear ink. You're not going to be able to see it once I lift up because that's what it is. It's clear. It's the embossing ink. So I'm just going to stamp this down 2 times. And then I'm going to bring out my Princess Gold embossing powder, and I'm going to sprinkle this onto the cardstock. And I'm just going to put the excess back in the jar, and then I'm going to use my heat tool to heat set this. So adding that powder to the cardstock like I did at the beginning will ensure that the embossing powder does not stick where there is no ink. If you find that you have little spots of embossing powder around the sentiment, you can always take out a small detailed paintbrush and kind of just brush away the embossing powder that is excess on the cardstock. So after I heat set that sentiment, I'm just lining up my die, and I ran that through my die cutting machine off camera, and now I'm going to add it to my card front. So I'm just adding it flat to those Christmas trees. Made sure that the glue is behind the sentiment where it's going to be pressed against the Christmas tree. But that card is complete. Look how pretty that was, and it was so easy and quick to create. So now I have these other 2 cover plate die cuts, and I don't want them to go to waste, so I'm going to add them to a card. So I'm going to start with the gold metallic cover plate, and I'm going to just put glue on the back and add that to an A2 size card base. Look at that gold, how pretty it is, and I love all of the sparkle. It almost looks like there's some glitter inside of that paper, but it's not. It's actually, that paper actually is very soft and it's so shiny. So now I'm going to take the white Christmas trees from the white cover plate die cut shape that I used in the previous card, and I'm going to add the white Christmas trees back to the openings on this card. I'm not going to add them all though. I'm just going to add every other one. That way I have some with the stitching and some are just plain. If you wanted to add them all, of course you can do that. So now all the trees are glued down, and I'm going to bring this closer and just look how pretty that is. I love all the stitching on those trees. So I went ahead and did another sentiment using the same stamp set. I also did some heat embossing with the gold embossing powder, just trimming here a little bit extra off of the edges, and I'm going to add this sentiment to my card. So since the Christmas trees were adhered flat to the card, I'm going to go ahead and add some foam strips to the back of the sentiment so that the sentiment is raised. So I'll add that to the center across those 3 trees, and this one says Merriest Christmas Wishes, and that card is complete. So now, of course, I have to use the silver metallic die cut shape, and I just want to show you that if you wanted to, you can add this on top of a piece of pattern paper. So if you wanted your Christmas trees to look like they have a pattern behind them, you can do that. You can also add a solid piece of cardstock behind it to give those trees some color if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to turn this one into a shaker card. I love making shaker cards, so of course I couldn't pass up not turning this into a shaker card because it has all of those tree openings and it's perfect for a shaker. So what I'm doing here is I am putting glue on the back side of this cover plate die cut, and I'm going to press this on to a piece of acetate. Next, I'm going to use my scissors and I'm going to just trim off the excess acetate. If you wanted to use a paper cutter here, you can do that, but it's just as easy for me to use my long straight edge scissors to just trim right along the edge of that die cut. Next, I'm going to turn this die cut piece over, and I'm looking at the back side of it, and I'm going to take some foam strips and I'm going to outline the die cut shape in a rectangle. So I'm going to add the foam to the top and bottom, all the way spanning from the left to right edge, and then I'm going to take some more foam tape and I'm going to add it to the left and right side of that die cut, making sure that the foam tape is connected on all 4 sides. You don't want to leave any gaps because you don't want your shaker pieces to fall out of any holes. Next, I want to make sure that I add more foam tape between each of the rows on this die cut. So I'm going to take out my foam and I'm going to add a piece below the first row all the way from the left to right edge. I'm going to do the same thing below the second row. And the reason for this is because when I add shaker pieces, if I don't have this foam tape separating the rows, all of my shaker pieces are going to fall to the very bottom of my card. And then the only row that you would see the shaker pieces would be that last row of trees. And I'm going to do the same thing by adding foam between each of the Christmas trees. So I'm basically making it like each Christmas tree is its own separate window, so that when I add the shaker pieces, I'm going to add them in each section or in each window of this die cut shape. This will ensure that the shaker pieces are inside of each one of those Christmas tree sections. And the beads that I'm going to be using today are the Christmas cookie shaker beads. And these are new from Pretty Pink Posh. They were released with the October release. You can see how I'm going to add these shaker beads inside each one of the windows. And those shaker beads now will be contained within each window so that when I add this to my card, you'll have shaker pieces for each one of those Christmas trees. So here I'm just removing all of the backing off of the foam strips. Once all of the backing is removed, I will add my A2 size card base right on top. I'll press that down to make sure I get a good snug fit. And now when I turn this over, you can see that each one of those tree sections has shaker beads. So here I'm going to use another sentiment. This sentiment I'm just going to stamp out with some red ink. So I'm just going to add the sentiment that says, "Have a holly jolly Christmas," and I'll also die cut that out with the corresponding die. I'll go ahead and add that flat to my card. I didn't want to pop this up because I already have foam since this is a shaker card, so I'll add this flat. Now if you wanted to add any other decoration to this, such as flowers or anything, you can do that, but I just wanted to make a simple shaker card. So I hope you liked my cards today, and if you're interested in any of the products, check the description box of this YouTube video for product links. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like videos like this, be sure to click that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you'll be notified every time a new video is released. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.